There's nothing average about the Air Force Academy or those who come here.
It takes more than smarts and good grades.
It takes grit.
It's for the I never quit students, the relentless, persevering, most likely to keep trying until I reach my best students.
Because we will go on to lead others, push boundaries, save lives, and represent American ideals.
If you've got what it takes, prove it.
Good evening, everyone. Before we start, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak and represent the United States Air Force Academy. I'm always excited to hear about students interested in attending any of the service academies, but especially the Air Force Academy. And I hope you find the following information helpful and beneficial. So I am Second Lieutenant Juan Ramos, and I am an admissions advisor for the United States Air Force Academy. I am a recent 2020 graduate for the Air Force Academy, and where I received my Bachelor's of Science in Systems Engineering. Following this assignment as a admissions advisor, I'll be going on to pilot training in Laughlin in Del Rio, Texas. So on this slide as well as my contact information, you can find my email address and my phone number there as well for any future contact. So we're going to go ahead and start with what is the Air Force Academy. The Air Force Academy is one of the 5 service academies sponsored by the Department of Defense, and we are the service academy for the Air and now the Space Force. And just like any good organization or other school, we have our own leadership structure within the United States Air Force Academy. And at the top of our leadership structure is our newly appointed superintendent, Lieutenant General Richard M. Clark, who is a USAFA graduate from the class of 1986. And there are 3 key areas at the Air Force Academy, and we have an individual person in charge of each area as well. So the individual in charge of anything military related at the Academy is Major General Michelle Edmondson. She is a ROTC graduate from the University of Florida. The individual in charge of anything academic at the Air Force Academy is our Dean of Faculty, and that's Brigadier General Linnell Latundra. She's a USAFA grad from the class of 1986. And then finally, to round off our leadership tree, we have our Director of Athletics, and he's in charge of all the athletics at the Air Force Academy. And that individual is Mr. Nathan Pine, who's a graduate from the University of Oregon State. Now, the mission of the United States Air Force Academy is to educate, train, and inspire men and women to become officers of character, motivated to lead the United States Air and Space Forces in service to our nation. This is what we intend to do. This is our goal. And the way we do that is through what we call the whole person development, or the whole person concept. And while you're a student at the Air Force Academy, we're going to make sure that we develop you in 3 key areas. And that's academics, athletics, and military training. And all that serves to build a great foundation for excellent character, and also help develop and build your leadership skills and style. Beginning with academics. At the Air Force Academy, we have world-class facilities that are unmatched with some of the top universities from across the country. We have all the latest gizmos and gadgets that you can think of to help improve your learning experience. We have 5 different wind tunnels in our aero lab. We have our cadaver lab in the bio department. And we just have all the latest toys and techs that you could possibly hope to see any top tier university. And also what sets the Academy apart is our school size. We only have about 4,000 cadets at the Academy at a time. So that just kind of helps with a nice, very personal learning experience. And on top of our world-class facilities, we also have dedicated faculty that are there to help ensure that you learn the material. Going back to our class size, or to our schools' size, we have an 8-to-1 student to teacher ratio. Like I said, that's just even more of a personal learning experience in comparison to a traditional university. Our average class size is less than 20 students in the class. And when you compare that to a traditional university where they have, sometimes 100 students in one of those giant lecture hall style classrooms. We have a very diverse faculty. and roughly 60% of it being military and 40% of it being civilian. However, our military staff isn't just from the Air Force. We have faculty from all branches of the armed forces. And what's nice about our faculty is that they're not tied to the school to do some sort of research as they would be at some traditional university. So our instructors' jobs at the Air Force Academy is to teach the students. And that makes it so much easier for you to get that extra help or that tutoring should you need it. You don't have to go through a teacher's aide or a teacher's assistant to schedule that tutoring. You're doing that tutoring directly with your instructor, and they're more than willing to work around your schedule to help you get that tutoring. And on top of that, we also have a ton of resources available to our students to help get that extra tutoring if you can't do it with your instructor, like our quantitative reasoning center, where you can get extra tutoring in those tough subjects like math and physics. We also have a dedicated writing center that's there to proofread all your essays. Moving on to this slide, this is just kind of the slide you can see where our school ranks amongst some of the top tier schools in the country. This is per US News and World Report. As you can see, the United States Air Force Academy is predominantly STEM oriented. So we're always, a top 10 school in all those STEM categories. However, we just don't focus on STEM. We offer a wide variety of majors, and that's just because we want our students to have a well-diverse background in education and be well-versed in all subjects. And since we don't just focus on STEM, we focus on those social sciences and humanities majors as well. We're also a top 30 school in those liberal arts degrees or those humanities degrees as well. These are the majors and minors that you can find at the Air Force Academy, and we have just about every major or minor you can think of. We have 32 different majors and 12 different minors, with eight of those minors being language minors. So you can just minor just about in any language you can think of that would be offered at a traditional university. And on this slide, if there's one thing I want you to pay attention to, it's that number right at the top, and that's that 91.5 semester hours of core classes. Each cadet will take 91.5 semester hours of core, and that's because we want our students to be well exposed to a diverse class load before they make that decision where they want to major and minor. Most jobs in the Air Force are independent of your major, so it doesn't really matter what you major in, and we'll get into later when it comes to those jobs as well. And now with the creation of the Space Force, we've introduced some new majors and some new minors that are kind of Space Force oriented, like our Space Operations major or our Space Warfighting minor. Moving on to that second aspect of the whole person concept, we're going to talk about the athletics portion now of the Air Force Academy. And at the Air Force Academy, we have a saying, and that saying is every cadet is an athlete. And that's because we want to stress the importance of physical fitness, not only at the Air Force Academy, but as a military officer and just in everyday life. The more physically fit you are, the healthier lifestyle you're going to have. And at the Air Force Academy, each cadet has to take 2 physical fitness tests a semester. And that's the physical fitness test, the PFT, and the aerobic fitness test, or the AFT. And why do we make you take those tests? That's to instill a sense of lifelong fitness. So we want you to develop those good habits now as a cadet at the Air Force Academy that are going to help you through not only your 4 years at the academy, but throughout your military career and beyond. These tests are taken once a semester, and the PFT, or the physical fitness test, is made up of pull-ups, a broad jump, sit-ups, push-ups, and a 600-meter run. The aerobic fitness test, or the AFT, is a 1.5-mile run. And depending on how well you do, you might be able to validate the test for next semester. So if you do really well, you only have to take the test once a year. However, if you do not meet the physical standards, we do have a reconditioning program, which we call Recondo. And that program is just to help students who are struggling meet the physical fitness standards. And it just provides that, personal trainer experience with a cadet who's a CIC down at our cadet gym, and they'll help you get back up to speed. Additionally, at the Air Force Academy, we offer 3 different types of athletic programs, and that's our NCAA Division I sports, our club sports, and our intramural sports. Every cadet has to do at least one of these while they're at the Air Force Academy. And we're going to start with talking about our NCAA Division I sports. At the Air Force Academy, we offered 27 NCAA D1 sports, with the majority of them competing in the Mountain West, with the exception of a couple. And what's nice about being a D1 athlete at the Air Force Academy is that your scholarship, to say, isn't dependent on you playing a sport as it would be at a traditional university. So if you decide to leave your sports team for whatever reason, you're not going to lose your scholarship to the Air Force Academy and not be able to pay. Every one of our D1 teams has to have tryouts, so you can always try to walk on to one of our Division I teams if you aren't a recruited athlete. And if you are interested in being recruited for the Air Force Academy, I encourage you visit that website down at the slide at goairforcefalcons.com. At that website, you can see all the different sports that are offered as NCAA Division I sports, and you can also find the contact information for our coaches for each team as well. Moving on to the next athletic program, our club sports, and we offer just about every single type of club sport you can think of that mirrors our NCAA Division I sports. They are just as competitive as our Division I sports. However, they're not necessarily tied to the rules and regulations of the NCAA. And these teams are also excellent opportunities for you to compete at national competitions and represent the Academy and the Air Force. I myself was a club athlete. I did men's club ultimate frisbee at the Academy. That was my club sport, and I got a chance to travel across the country and compete and represent the Air Force at national competitions. And lastly, the last athletic program that we offer at the Air Force Academy are our intramural sports. And that's just kind of inter-student body competitions. It's played with your squadron, and your squadron is your unit. Those are the people that you eat, sleep, train with on a daily basis. There's 2 different intramural seasons, one in the fall and one in the spring, with 9 sports to choose from each season. And you can serve in different capacities on an intramural season. You can either be a coach, you can be a player, you can officiate the sport, or you can manage your team. And the whole point of having intramurals is to promote competition and camaraderie amongst the cadets and the cadet wing. Now, as we transition into that last aspect of the whole person concept, is that military training. And it starts here with basic cadet training. This is traditionally a majority of the students' introduction to that military lifestyle, to that Air Force lifestyle. And basic cadet training is 6 weeks long, and it happens the summer before you start your freshman fall semester at the Air Force Academy. And it's broken up into 2 3-week periods. You have first BCT and second BCT. First BCT focuses on certain aspects like dress and appearance. That's how to wear the uniform, how to look the part. Customs and courtesies, how to address people, how to salute, how to speak to people, that kind of stuff. Drill and ceremonies, that's how to do the walking and talking and how to march. And then you also get a heavy dose of military knowledge and military history. Second BCT is traditionally more physically demanding than first BCT. And that's not to say that physical fitness is not a part of first BCT. It happens throughout all of BCT. However, it's traditionally more of a focus during second BCT, because that's when you go down to our training facility at Jacks Valley and you live in a simulated deployed environment. You live in tents out in the woods at our training facility at Jacks Valley. And you get to do all those cool things that you see in the movies and the TV shows, like crawling through dirt, running through the woods, learning how to shoot guns and that kind of stuff. And you get to take part in all the cool courses that we have down at Jacks Valley, like our assault course, our confidence course, our obstacle course, our gas chamber, and all that cool TV Hollywood stuff you see. However, military training doesn't just stop after basic training. It continually takes place every day for the 4 years that you're at the Air Force Academy. And it takes shape in different forms. One of those being daily formations. You're gonna have 2 formations every day, one in the morning and one at lunchtime. You also have to wear a uniform every day. And that does include keeping your hair in regulations and making sure you're clean shaven for the males. It also takes place in forms of parades. We have many annual parades throughout the year and different types of annual ceremonies as well, just like the one you can see at that top left corner of the slide. It also takes the form as daily training sessions for the freshmen. As a freshman at the academy, we want to ensure that you're getting that military training to help you ease that transition into that military lifestyle. So there's some sort of daily training session for the freshman class. And then on occasion, you're going to have a weekend training exercise. The majority of the time, your weekends are going to be free at the Air Force Academy, but every now and then we'll have a weekend training exercise. The Air Force Academy is equal parts military and equal parts school. So just because there's so much military training that goes on a daily basis, doesn't mean that you can set your schoolwork aside. You do have to go to class every day. And why is there so much training that happens at the Air Force Academy? That's because we're in the business of developing military officers. And this requires a lot of time and a lot of dedication. It doesn't just happen overnight. So that's why we have continuous military training every single day. Something that's unique to the Air Force Academy and to the other service academies is the fact that we abide by an honor code. And our honor code is here on the slide. That's we will not lie, steal, or cheat, nor tolerate among us anyone who does. And we take this honor code very seriously. If you're found in violation of the honor code, it can sometimes get you disenrolled from the Air Force Academy. And I don't say that to scare you. This isn't a terror tactic. Predominantly, the reason why we have our honor code is to promote trust. And it's the baseline for how we conduct relationships with another. I never had to worry about locking my door when I went to class or every time I stepped out of my room, because I had that mutual trust in my peers that nothing was going to get stolen or broken from my room. Additionally, another thing too is that I wasn't afraid to lend out my car to the lower classmen, because I know that if something had happened to the car, those people that I lent it out to, would tell me very straightforward and very candidly about, what happened and what was the situation. Like I said, the honor code promotes and builds trust, and it provides that foundation for that officer mentality. And that's just being an honorable leader and an honorable person. As an officer, you have to gain the trust of your team. So why not start as early as possible here at the Air Force Academy and practice how we play? And this honor code applies to you while you're at the academy and while you're away as well. So you're living that honor code 24/7. One of the many things that drew me to the military was the opportunity to travel the world. And that's no different at the Air Force Academy. We offer many travel opportunities to our cadets. One of the big ones being if you're an individual who's minoring in a language, we have a ton of travel opportunities and summer and semester abroad exchange programs for you to practice your language, whether that be at a foreign military academy or a foreign civilian school. It gives you that chance to not only practice the language you're studying, but also immerse yourself in the different cultures that speak that language. Ops Air Force is another also great travel opportunity. And it's a chance that we give our cadets to visit an operational Air Force base and kind of see what day-to-day operations is like in an Air Force squadron. It also gives you a chance to expose yourself to maybe some of the jobs you're interested in going for after graduation. One of the other travel opportunities we offer at the Air Force Academy are our Service Academy semester exchange programs. And that gives you a chance to maybe spend a semester at West Point or at the Naval Academy or at Coast Guard and kind of see what their academies are like. As well, we also offer an ROTC exchange program for the semester as well, with a ton of different Air Force ROTC detachments from across the country at different schools. And it gives you a chance to kind of see what Air Force ROTC is like in comparison to the academy. And then finally, we do offer a ton of summer research opportunities to our upper class students. And that gives you a chance to maybe travel the world, travel the country, and get exposed to new ideas from either the civilian sector, and some of our industry partners. I know I had friends that did some really cool summer research opportunities with some of the top companies like Boeing and Lockheed Martin, and they learned so much from those internships. Perhaps the thing that sets us the most apart from your traditional university and the other service academies, for that fact, are our airmanship programs. Us being the Air Force, the sky is our domain, and we're well known for putting our students in the sky. Well, perhaps one of our most talked about airmanship programs is our JUMP program, or our parachuting program. And that program gives students a chance to parachute and jump out of a plane. And it's probably one of the only programs in the country that I know of where your first skydive is by yourself. You are responsible for getting yourself out of the plane and pulling your own parachute. You're not connected or in tandem with another individual. And for cadets that enjoy that program so much, you can take it to the next step and try out for our parachuting team, the Wings of Blue. And our Wings of Blue parachuting team gets a chance to travel the country and represent the Air Force Academy as they jump and do air shows, or they jump into professional sporting arenas, and also compete at national competitions as well. For maybe those students who are interested in pursuing a career in aviation, we give you a chance to put you in the cockpit and fly an actual plane through either our soaring program or our powered flight program. And traditionally, the syllabus for those two programs are very similar. However, one program puts you in a glider, which is a plane with no engine, and the other puts you in the seat of an airplane with an engine. And for cadets who do the glider program, they also have a chance to apply to be one of our instructor pilots for that program as well. And it gives you a chance to be the individuals with that ability to teach the next generation of glider pilots. We also offer our drone or RPA program as well. And that's for cadets who are interested in maybe being remotely piloted aircraft pilots, you just kind of want to see what flying a drone is like. We put the control of those awesome drones in your hand and kind of get to see if that's something that interests you. And also with the creation of the Space Force, there's been a surge of interest in those Space Force programs. And perhaps probably our most famous one and most memorable one is our Falcon Sat program. And that allows cadets a chance to plan and build a satellite that'll get launched into space, and it gives them a chance to maintain that satellite while it's in space. And after 4 long years at the Air Force Academy, after putting so much blood, sweat, and tears into your schoolwork and into that military training and on the athletic field, comes the day that you're never gonna forget, and that's graduation day. You worked so hard all that time to get to this one day for you to finally earn your diploma and your commission as either an Air or Space Force officer, and you get their chance to throw your hat in the air while the Thunderbirds rip over your heads. There's nothing better. There's no feeling that can describe that day, regardless whether it's COVID like mine was, and we had an unorthodox graduation day, or it's the traditional one in the football stadium surrounded with all your family and loved ones. It's equally as special that one day. Now, moving on to the different career opportunities that are available to you at the Air Force Academy. Upon graduation as an Air Force officer, there's 35 different career fields that you are eligible for upon graduation. And then roughly 50% of our graduating class will go on to pilot training. So for those of you who are maybe interested in pursuing a career in aviation, the Air Force Academy is an excellent place for you to jumpstart your career in that field. And now with the creation of the Space Force, roughly 10% of our graduating class will go on to commission directly into the Space Force. And then for those individuals at the top of the class, roughly 10% of the graduating class will go to pursue those graduate school degrees immediately after graduation, whether that be law school, medical school, or some sort of degree in public policy. Additionally, upon graduation, you do incur a minimum 5-year service commitment. And that's just to give the Air Force that time to utilize you and get all their money back from all that time and effort they put in developing you to be a military officer. And sometimes your service commitment will increase, and we're gonna go ahead and talk about that on this next slide here as we dive more into Air Force career opportunities. These are all the different jobs that you can potentially be eligible for as an Air Force officer. And we're gonna go ahead and start with that leftmost column. All the jobs in the leftmost column do not require a specific degree for you to be eligible for. However, those do incur a longer than 5-year service commitments. For those of you who maybe wanna be pilots or doctors or lawyers in the Air Force, you expect to have a longer than 5-year service commitment. And that's just because the Air Force puts in extra time and resources to give you that, advanced training for those jobs. And we just want we want the most bang for our bucks. We want to make sure we get that money back and ensure we utilize you before you decide to transition out of the Air Force. Moving on to the jobs in the middle column, these are all jobs that, once again, do not require a specific degree to be eligible for, but these do incur the minimum 5-year service commitment. And finally, those jobs in the rightmost column, these are all jobs that do require a specific degree, and they do incur the minimum 5-year service commitment. So it only makes sense if you want to be an engineer or a chemist or a physicist, you have to have gotten that major from the academy to be eligible for those jobs upon graduation. And now with the creation of the Space Force, there's also additional jobs in the Space Force as well. And we created a Space Force because our assets in space are essential to our national security and require a focused and dedicated service. The mission of the Space Force is a military service that organizes, trains, and equips space forces in order to protect US and allied interests in space and to provide space capabilities to the joint force. And some of those responsibilities include developing military space professionals, acquiring military space systems, maturing the military doctrine for space power, and organizing space forces to present to our combatant commands. And the Space Force is predominantly focused on completing the space mission. So there are only operations jobs and not so many support jobs as well. And commissioning into the Space Force from the Air Force Academy is equally as competitive as receiving a pilot slot. There's only so many slots that we can give out every year. So if you want to compete for a chance to commission into the Space Force, you got to put in that work while you're here at the Academy and give yourself the best chance. And these are just some of the jobs that are available in the Space Force. Acquisitions, engineering, space operator is solely a job that is exclusive to the Air Force. As I was, space operator is a job that is exclusively to the Space Force and not in the Air Force. Cyberspace and intelligence. The other 4 jobs, acquisitions, engineering, cyberspace, and intel, are also have jobs in this Air Force as well. So you can be those jobs in the Air Force or in the Space Force, but space operator is solely exclusive to the Space Force. Now, I know I've thrown a lot of information your way, so if there's one slide that you do remember from this presentation, it's this one, and that's how to get started. So for those of you who may be interested in pursuing an appointment to the Air Force Academy, visit our website at academyadmissions.com to not only get more information about our application process, but to start your application as well. For those who are juniors in high school that are going to be rising into seniors, their senior year, over the summer between your junior and senior year, we have a program that is called Summer Seminar, and that's a chance for you to come out to the Academy for a few days and live that cadet life and see if the Air Force Academy is ultimately for you. You get a chance to live in the dorms, eat at the dining facility, and tour the academic facilities and see if the Air Force Academy is something that you'd be interested in. That starts becomes open to you your junior year. And now we're going to talk about the actual application process. So there's 5 different prongs to the application process, and that's being academically competitive, physically qualified, medically qualified, having exemplified excellent character and leadership skills, and the last one, securing a nomination. Starting with academically competitive, like I said, it's very competitive to get into the Air Force Academy. There's only a little over 4,000, students at the Air Force Academy. So, you have to put in that work academically in high school, to give yourself the best chance. And on this slide are some of our averages from the previous class. Once again, I want to stress that these are only averages. So just because maybe you aren't at these target ranges yet, don't be discouraged. Put in that work, get that studying in, and you can reach these averages as well. We have on this slide our average test scores. One thing that I do want to remind any interested individuals is that we do super score your test scores at the Air Force Academy. So we always encourage you to take multiple tests until you're satisfied with your score. And also while you're in high school, we also encourage that you take Whatever classes will best prepare you for those college level courses. Challenge yourself and take the highest level courses that are available to you and you can handle, but still, get those good grades in those courses as well. Moving on to the next couple parts of the application process, being physically competitive and medically qualified. So I've already stressed the importance of physical fitness at the Air Force Academy, so it's only fair that we include that in our application process as well. So part of our application is going to require you to take a physical fitness test, and that's our cadet fitness assessment. Additionally, you also have to be medically healthy to serve in the military. So part of our application process as well requires you to get a physical by the Department of Defense Medical Evaluation Review Board. And that physical is very similar to a high school sports physical. They'll go with DODVERB and they'll perform that physical for you. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional. So if you have any questions as it pertains to your medical status or to DODVERB, you can go to our contact here, Mr. Larry Mullen. He's our DODVERB and medical expert guru, and you can find his contact information on the slide below. The next part of the application process is demonstrating character and leadership. And these are just some of the most common extracurricular activities that we see on our applications. This is not an all-inclusive list. So just because you aren't participating in one of these doesn't mean that you're not demonstrating character and leadership. These are just some of the most common examples we see amongst some of our candidates. And the Academy really wants you to take part in extracurricular activities that interest you. So don't just join a sport or join a club to check a box necessarily. Participate in those clubs and extracurricular activities that you truly enjoy and stick with those clubs and extracurricular activities throughout high school. And we want to see you rise into those leadership positions in those clubs and activities. And then finally, the last part of the application process is securing a nomination. All applicants must receive a nomination by law to attend the Air Force Academy. And you can receive a nomination through different sources, whether that be your 2 US senators, your US representative, the vice president. For those of you who are military dependents, you might be eligible for the presidential nomination as well. We always tell our candidates to apply for every single nominating source that they are eligible for. And that just gives you a better chance at securing a nomination. There's so many people that are competing for those slots, so the more you apply for, the better shot you have at getting one. Additionally, the application process for a nomination is completely separate than the application for the Air Force Academy. So we encourage that you visit your respective nominating source's website, get the information as to what their application requires and their due dates, because it's separate than the Air Force Academy's application process. Let's take a quick chance to talk about our prep school and the Falcon Foundation Scholarship. So if you don't get an appointment for the first time, but the admission board sees that you have great potential and just need a little more time to better prepare for your success at the Academy, we can recommend you to either the prep school or to a Falcon Foundation Scholarship. You cannot directly apply for these programs. They are only available to students who complete the application to the Air Force Academy. So that's why it's very important that you complete your application to compete for an appointment. And that's something that we always tell all our candidates. There's nothing more important than completing your application. Roughly 80% of individuals who attend the prep school continue to the Air Force Academy, and 30% of our applicants are reapplicants. So it's not uncommon to not get in the first time around. I didn't get in the first time around. I reapplied through a Falcon Foundation Scholarship and was able to get in the following year. The prep school mirrors 4 years at the Academy with a full scholarship, and it's located on the same premises as the Academy. And there's opportunities for athletic and military improvement, but primarily focuses on that academic success. The Falcon Foundation is a partial scholarship to one of several civilian preparatory schools. There's several options to choose from. And whichever school strengthens your application, will definitely strengthen your application when you apply the second time around. And finally, if I haven't sold you on the Air Force Academy yet, then hopefully I can do it with our last slide here. And these are some of the overall benefits that the Air Force Academy offers to its students. First and foremost, there's no tuition cost. It's completely free for you to attend the Air Force Academy if you receive an appointment. There's no tuition you have to pay for, and there's no room and board that you have to pay for. That's something that can't be said for other universities unless you're on a full ride scholarship. And here, all our students are on that full ride scholarship because you don't have to pay for anything. I know a very hot topic right now with this COVID environment is having medical insurance. And as a cadet at the Air Force Academy, you will have medical and dental coverage as a cadet. So that's something that also can't be said for a traditional university. Unlike some of your friends who might need, to get a job, to maybe get some of that extra income into their pocket as a traditional college student, as a cadet at the Air Force Academy, you receive a monthly stipend while you're a cadet. And that's just money for you to use for whatever you see fit, because you don't have to worry about tuition and cost or dorm or room and board, like we said before. And finally, you have a guaranteed career upon graduating from the Air Force Academy. That's something that's very, very hard to come by now in this 21st century from a traditional university. Once again, guys, I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you about all the wonderful opportunities at the Air Force Academy. Once again, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out through my contact information that I had pointed out on that very first slide. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much.